Good morning. I had this video sent to me. I watched the video, had some thoughts.
If you guys know Hebrew Aramaic, it's alphanumeric. It means
Okay, he's correct. Hebrew Aramaic is not a singular language, so that his rolling that together, I'm going to try not to be too nitpicky on this, but I do also want to be precise.
numbers mean letters, and letters mean what?
Numbers.
Good.
What happens with this numerical system? Some interpretive conclusions have been drawn based on the arithmetic that can be done around the letters and number correlation that goes along with them in the Hebrew. What's happening is that someone has taken the name, the title, Neron Kesar, and has done a Hebrew transliteration of what that sounds like in the phonetic pronunciation and written it in the Hebrew and in those letters in order to say, okay, Neron Kesar. Now, it would have been Kaiser, and it would have been necessary in order to do that in the Hebrew to add in a yud after the kuf. So there are a few pieces of this where you have to stretch, you have to try and make this work in order for it to seem like it does work.
Spells Neron, basically. What this is talking about is Rome, guys.
Is it talking about Rome or is it talking about Nero?
The number 6 represents man. Why? And because on the 6th day, God formed man out of the dust afad of the earth, blew the Nephesh into his lungs, and he became a living being.
When it comes to Hebraic thought, there is really no singular why. There's almost never going to be a situation where it's this because of this. Hebrew is far more conceptual than that. So to say that that 6 is the number of physicality is a true interpretation, because Vav, being representative of number 6, okay, so that's Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav is your sixth number, sixth number. And so it does represent what are considered the 6 cardinal directions: north, south, east, west, up, down. And so that would represent this physicality of this plane. We want to make sure that when we're looking at 6 as a number of man and a number of humanity, that also is distinct from what 666 is asserted in Revelation, because that's saying the number of a man. Let's not forget that. The definitive article already, we've kind of started with a false premise here, because what he's asserting is that it's the number of man, as in the collective, as in humankind. That's not necessarily true. It's not what Revelation is saying for context.
666, what does that represent? Well, there's 3 6s, 666. In Jewish tradition, correct me if I'm wrong, all of you guys who are Jewish, you say something like holy, holy, holy. It means perfect, complete holiness. That's why they go holy, holy, holy in Daniel and Psalm. When you say things 3 times, it means complete.
Again, in Hebraic thought, rarely is it a one-to-one thing. Holy, 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 yes, does have that complete and utter holiness. But it could also just be like the highest holiness. The tabernacle has the holy place. The holy of holies then is even further extended, and the Lord being holy, holy, holy. That is an elevated, multiplied, amplified implication in the 333. Another thing that we need to recognize is that when that shows up in Hebrew, that is there for emphasis. When something is doubled, it's there for emphasis. So how much more is the 3? So truly, truly, I say to you, the land was exceedingly, exceedingly good. When something then is listed 3 times, it's even more of an emphatic statement. So Jeremiah 22:29 says, "Oh, earth, earth, earth." It's not saying complete earth, according to his logic of that interpretation. It's not even saying all of the land. It's a pay attention language. So Ezekiel 21:27 saying overturn, overturn, overturn. That could imply complete destruction. It's not the worst interpretation, but it's only a piece of it. He's setting something up to run down the logical conclusion of it, setting something up to run down the logical conclusion of it. If what he sets up is incorrect, that's the domino that falls and is too far away from the next one in order to connect the pattern, right? So we need to actually be willing to say, nope, this domino doesn't work, nope, this domino doesn't work, so that when it all tilts, it would otherwise need to be closely connected enough for us to be able to run that logical syllogism. The other part of that is that what he is doing is bringing in Greek logic into Hebraic logic, Greek languages, Latin titles, transliteration, different gematria. He's jumping across several different platforms of logical thought in order to make these points, and they're falling apart in each subsequent assertion. So
if you're flesh, 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 complete flesh, because now when you say holy, holy, holy 3 times, it means you're completely holy. But if you say flesh, 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 man, 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 what are you? Completely man. And if you're completely man and you have no spirit, what are you? A beast.
What was breathed into Adam was the Neshamah, the Nishmat Chayim. And so this, in Hebraic thought, when it comes to what we use for words of life, there are almost these ascending categories. So it's like Chai, to life, we would say l'chaim, and then there's Nephesh, which can be life, can be soul. We've seen that in a couple different places, and that's what he's drawing off of here is Nephesh being soul. Then Neshamah. the breath of life that was breathed into the nostrils of Adam. Neshamah is something that does not belong to the beasts of the earth. Nephesh does. The first occurrence of Nephesh is Genesis 1:20. Let every creature that has life. And we see Nephesh over and over again translated as life, as spirit, and it does apply to animals too. So again, we're coming with this conclusion of, oh, see, if you are flesh, that means that you're a beast, because that's what the 666 represents, is the man, the flesh, equal beast. That is incorrect. That's based on a false premise and gives us a false conclusion. Let's keep going.
And then there's also something that's pointing to what you guys don't know is an unholy trinity. What Satan tries to do is he tries to put 6.
What it's pointing to is something you guys don't know. Nobody knows that because it's his thing. He's drawing based on the Trinity, which of course we know is doctrine. It's not Scripture. The idea of conceptualizing the nature of God in that way is something he's adding on to say the unholy Trinity that you don't know about aligns opposite this figure of the Trinity, aligns this figure in the Trinity. He's setting up a cute illustration. This is a common pastoral move, but it's not necessarily correct, and it is a logical fallacy, so we do need to be mindful of it. He's taking something presented as Scripture and then is doing the opposite of that to draw a conclusion based on it, so that he then can point out, see, you're when you do this, when you act in these fleshly ways, you're opposite of what the holiness of this is.
Right then and there, he made 666, you acting like a beast, nothing to do with the spirit. And this is what he means.
He made 666 acting like a beast, nothing to do with the spirit. This is what he means. Brother. Who's supposed to be saying this? John? Are we really saying, oh, now I understand. That's what Revelation really says. Thank you so much. You've clarified it for me. No, there are a few assertions here that are being made based on associatively true statements, and yet, and this is the kind of thing we want to recognize when we're doing interpretation of Scripture, but also we are in a position where we're going to have to do an interpretive reading of preachers and to really understand what he's trying to say. In my interpretation of this statement, he is coming with a few buzzwordy cool things that float around on the internet, Gematria being one of them, 666 certainly being a big one, Nero, even that first, you have to understand the context of who it's written to. Well, that's a lovely thing to hear from a teacher who's about to teach you context, but that's not what he does. So I just would encourage everybody who has seen this video or might have others sharing it with them to come with that same sort of critical eye to recognize where one premise that's being supported then doesn't follow a logical trajectory, or rather does follow a logical trajectory, but one that isn't necessarily correct. Is it the worst conclusion to say, see, this is why you need Christ. See, this is why you shouldn't be trapped in your fleshly nature. See, this is why you shouldn't do drugs. We don't often call things out like this because it's like, well, he's not making a bad point, but his point is not standing on truth, and therefore it can seem like a shaky point. So when we set up one thing is true and say a therefore, that we are being careful not to get down a logical syllogism path that is eventually going to lead us somewhere false because we let the chain break down earlier on.